What's up, everyone? How you guys doing? And it's been a week since the launch of Zenless 2.0 and also the launch of Yixuan, the latest S rank agent. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you my review of the character, whether I've enjoyed playing her, some of the pros and cons, and also if you should probably pull for it depending on what I've said in like pros and cons, right? This is not going to be a guide video, right? In the sense that I'm going to tell you like how to build her, stuff like that. But maybe I might spring in how to use her. That being said, today's video is more as a review and see whether I enjoyed playing her and whether I regretted pulling for her. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Now, before anything else, we have to talk about what is Yixuan. And because as the new unit of 2.0, she has new mechanics of which she is the first of the kind. First and foremost, she is the first Rupture agent. Rupture agents basically are agents that ignore defense to deal damage. That's basically it. And they make use of this stat called Sheer Force. What Sheer Force basically is a stat that gets converted from a portion of HP of your attack, 30%, which helps Rupture agents do more damage. Basically, is what they scale off, right? And then when obviously 30% attack is converted to your Sheer Force, but with Yixuan's core passive, you actually convert 10% of your Sheer Force or your HP into Sheer Force. And you think about it, right? Because HP tends to be a bigger number for most, if not all, characters, you actually get more out of it by scaling your characters or building characters for HP than attack, or in this case, Yixuan, right? I don't know how other characters are going to be built. But that being said, yeah, Yixuan, like I said, if Yixuan had 10k HP, which is on the very, very low side, and then you have 3k attack, which is like you have to like really give a good weapon. You have to give the character like an attack 5 slot 5, right? 3k, but the 30% of 3k is 900, whereas 10% of 10,000 would be 1,000, which is like 100 Sheer Force points more. So that's why you can see that she builds a lot better with HP. And obviously that is also really good because as a HP scaling unit, she's a lot more tanky, she's less likely to die because obviously you have more hit points. And of course, that also means that the character, is just there has a lot more staying power on the field. Now, obviously we talk about it a little bit more. Fortunately, because she's HP scaling, she doesn't have a lot of like optimal supports, but we'll talk about that a lot later. Also, as I mentioned, also count the weapons as well, considering she's also the first of her kind. But we'll see how it goes as the patches go on, more Rupture characters are being released, and also more supports for the archetype. Let's go into the first reason why I enjoy playing Yixuan. I think that Yixuan is a character that personally is a playstyle I enjoy because it's very reactionary. What I mean by this is that most characters in the game, you use your skill, use your burst, you do your attack, use your charge attack, everything, and then when an enemy comes to attack you, you either parry or you dodge, which means there's some interruption in the gameplay, right? Some characters dodge and then you have to attack again to like do the entire chain. Or some characters parry and then you have to switch back to the character if you're doing anything. And then so yeah, there's a moment of disruption with those characters. Whereas for Yixuan, because some of these mechanics are built into the kit, it makes the character's kit a lot more intuitive. Now, this is mostly seen with her special, which is a normal special and EX special. Now, Yixuan uses this mechanic called Adrenaline, which is basically her version of energy, but you don't get like funneled from like you don't get like energy regen to work on it. It doesn't work with energy regen, or and doesn't recharge the same rate as like normal energy for your other characters. But basically, right, Adrenaline basically helps to like power up her abilities. So it works the same way as your energy for other characters, but it doesn't refresh the same way it does. But those things aside, I'm not going to get into how you get your adrenaline back, but the entire kit of Yixuan is to maintain this adrenaline, not to spam it too much and then like you have nothing to do for the rest of the fight, but to properly manage this because of the way her kit works. So let's talk about her normal special, where you use a skill or use the special, you basically dodge the attack and you continue to do damage, which in the past you have to dodge, but this is actually part of a kit and part of her combo. And the same comes with the EX special as well, where you could do a normal attack, so and so forth. But the very first attack that you do with your EX special, you're actually able to parry and block. Like either do a perfect block or a defensive block, stuff like that. And then you're able to also recover 10%, or not 10%, 10 adrenaline for Yixuan. So it's going to be very nice, because obviously this means that by playing the character well, right, by learning the intricacies of the character, you're then able to manage your energy a lot better, rather than just needlessly spam her abilities and then you run out of adrenaline. You're actually trying to be intentional with the way you're using it, so that you're able to better manage the energy system. And that's basically the entire kit, right? Once you get to 120 technique points, which I think the first and the fourth hit gives you 20, so 10, basically 3 of the special EX special combos, you're able to then use a special ultimate, which then gives you an auric ink point, which basically you hold the dodge, right, and then you're able to regen your energy your adrenaline, for Yixuan. And then once you get energy back, you continue doing your combos, stuff like that. And then maybe in some downtime, then you switch to your Pan Yinhu to give you a little bit of sheer force damage, stuff like that. And I think when you look at Yixuan's kit, right, it is so reactive and intuitive, where it's really all just built into the character. I think that's really fun, right? I enjoy playing that. And I know some people may not like that. They may just like pure power and just easy to play characters, and I understand that. That being said, I think for players who want the ability to have a character that's a lot more responsive to what you do and a lot more synergistic with the way that you play, I think that Yixuan is a brilliant character to play, right? Obviously there are other parts to a kit, if you hold the basic attack, you actually, which is very confusing, you actually do the other version of an EX special, which is the Cloud Shaper, which is basically Nicole's special burst, the black hole, right? It does suck in enemies, stuff like that. But all in all, yeah, that's it. And obviously, while that's something that you most likely will not use, it is something that you can use, let's say if the enemies are stunned, or you need a little bit more of the technique points, because that attack does help fill in the attack, the technique points for her first version of her ultimate. Like I said, it just flows all together. You can recover once you're done with your combos, and you have the auric ink point. You can use the whole skill to be able to refresh your energy, then you continue your combo again. It all surrounds around managing your adrenaline. And obviously you look at the design philosophy of the character. She's like a Shaolin monk, right? She uses chi and everything. It all makes sense. I think that's really great about the character. I think obviously her hitting like a nuke obviously helps out quite a bit. But at the same time, you can see that, Yixuan, she just plays very well. And like I said, even though some players may not be turned off by the way she plays, I think for players who want, and I would say this about every game, play the DPS characters that you like. Right, pull for the DPS characters that you enjoy the playstyle of, and if you enjoy the kind of playstyle that Yixuan brings, where it's very reactionary and stuff like that, then I think that she is a good pull for you. Yixuan is the definition of a hyper carry, where she wants to spend the most time on the field. Now, obviously, a lot of characters want that in Zenless Zone 0, but for Yixuan in particular, right, because of the way her kit works, very reactionary to the enemy's attacks, she actually wants to be played when the enemies are not stunned. Some characters like Harumasa, Zhu Yuan, they really enjoy using the bulk of their attacks when enemies are stunned, during the stun window, so they can do the most amount of damage. Whereas for Yixuan, it really helps her out quite a bit to be able to do that attack, because she's so reactionary to the way the enemy play, and that she benefits the most out of it. I kid you not, and I know people are gonna say what the fuck, or what the hell. She reminds me a lot of how Nekomata plays, right? Nekomata is a character where, and I know like we're like, oh what, Nekomata, are you serious? But Nekomata is a character that really excels, right, at dodging and dodge counter attacking, right? Whereas Yixuan is kind of similar as well, obviously not to the same extent, but she's more of like parrying and like, you know, like parrying, you know, like you see from like your martial arts movie, and then like just like counter attacking as and when. And I think like that's really the great thing about her, right? She really wants to attack when the enemy is like trying to kill you. And you know, she just like brushes it away and just like smashes into their face. And I guess that is why, at least for her, you know, that's just why Rupture agents are built to ignore defense, because technically your enemies take less damage when they're not stunned, right? So generally, ignoring defense does help to compensate for that loss of damage, because she wants to be attacking when the enemies are like trying to kill you. That being said, just like how Nekomata, and I'm not saying that it's the same extent as Nekomata, because Nekomata is solely reliant on the dodge counters, whereas obviously Yixuan is not. But because Yixuan is so reactionary, I think that one of the big cons of Yixuan is that she is a character that really relies on enemies' attacks and how you react, which means that when the enemies are stunned, there isn't a lot of opportunity to use her combos to the maximum, which means that you can't use the first chain or first attack of her EX special chain to be able to get like the 10 adrenaline points back. All right. But that being said, obviously, if you have kept like your ultimates, they also just do a lot more damage in those instances. Like if you notice, she has two versions of the ultimate. The first one we talked about quite a bit, the Talisman Suppression, which is with the 120 technique points. But the other one is the other ultimate, the Qingming Sky Shade, is basically the same as like your other agents, where you are able to get points based on like, or able to get the ultimate based on the 3000 decibels, right? And then just like nuke your enemy, can probably hold this for until the stun window, so that at least during the stun window where they're not attacking you and you can't like parry and stuff like that, you're able to then like still do meaningful damage as well. And so I think like obviously, you know, she obviously relies a lot on the enemy attacking you, but it doesn't mean that when the enemies are stunned, she's like completely useless. Like Nekomata, for all, like I know Nekomata gets memed a lot in Zenless, but legitly Nekomata is kind of useless when the enemies are stunned, right? Whereas for Yixuan, like her value does drop, but she is able to still provide meaningful damage as and when she can, because her entire kit is not dependent on like parrying and counter attacking. I think the other thing is that because of the way that Sheer Force works, she doesn't really have the best supports as of now. Obviously, because Sheer Force ignores defense, Rina is absolutely useless on her, because pen ratio ignores defense, and obviously she already ignores defense, so why? The other character, although not to the same extent, is Nicole. Nicole doesn't, obviously the defense threat from the core passive doesn't work, but you still get other benefits like the ether damage, the M6, I believe, that gives like the crit damage buff. Yeah, or crit rate, sorry. And then obviously the other parts of kit that also gives other buffs. So obviously Nicole's not the worst. But you know, generally, like most of the current supports, like Lucy and Astra Yao, like they are good, but it feels like they are not like her best in slot as of now. Even though some of these characters do have like the you know, like for example, Astra Yao got reworked with the Rupture class for additional ability, which is obviously very nice. That being said, it feels like there's someone else who's coming. Obviously, as of now, we do have Pan Yinhu, which I'm still building. But Pan Yinhu is a very good support for her, because she's able to provide the sheer force through the Meridian, which I believe is this one, yeah. You're able to provide the Meridian flow, which basically converts his attack to sheer force at a maximum of like 3k attack. So yeah, obviously this increases from 540 to 720, I believe, at M6. So yeah, so obviously Pan Yinhu is also pretty good as a team player for Yixuan. But I think like probably there's more to come. Obviously, as mentioned, Jufufu will be coming in the second half of 2.0, and obviously it's going to help her quite a lot with like her buffs that she gets on top of stunning. That being said, you know, I think her team is not fleshed out yet. I think this is really what the point I want to make. I'm going to make this in the next point, right? which I think a lot of people have been debating for a very long time, which is the battle of Yixuan versus Miyabi. Who is stronger? And I'm going to give you my answer right now. Miyabi is stronger. But let me tell you why Miyabi is stronger. Right? Miyabi came in 1.4, and a lot of the teams that Miyabi center around were already fleshed out before she arrived. Right, Anomaly was already considered to be a very strong, if not one of the strongest, if not the strongest class or specialty in the game because of how insane the damage scaled. And at the same time, before she was released, she had good characters that would eventually pair up well with her. Yanagi, Bernice, eventually now we got the release of Vivian in 1.7, and obviously we got a drip marketing for Alice, who's also an Anomaly character, and she may be the Jane Doe power creep, but she may also be an off-field more like Bernice and Vivian in that sense. So, and of course, she has also very good supports. Rena works well with her. Lucy works well with her, especially with Bernice. Nicole works well with her. So the thing is that Miyabi entered into the game with a lot of groundwork, and she was just the cherry on top. Whereas like Yixuan is kind of like a bit bare bones, and she just doesn't have like the groundworks to thrive yet. Now, is Yixuan one of the best characters in the game? 100%. But if you really compare both, right? But understand that Miyabi came into an archetype that was already established as one of the strongest, and then she just made the team a lot more stronger and still had support in the form of like Vivian and even Astro Yao. Whereas Yixuan, as of now, probably has like, obviously Pan Yinhu works well. Jufufu is coming out very soon in like 2 weeks time. But there are some characters that can work well for Lucy, Astro Yao, Colada can work decently. For me, I found that Trigger actually works insanely well because she's able to pop off her aftershock attacks, which is very nice. But generally, you can see that the options are a lot more limited as compared to what we have available for Miyabi, and so there's a very big difference. And obviously, like I said, Yixuan's best team is probably not there yet, whereas there are multiple best teams for Miyabi. And so obviously, which character is easier to play? Miyabi. Which character is easier to work around? Miyabi. But that's because the ground was already been set for her. Whereas for Yixuan, there's a lot more foundation that needs to be laid out. But I think that eventually it will be more set in stone, and in a few patches time, we may have good dedicated support or even teammates that help to bring her potential out. But at the same time, as I mentioned multiple times, Yixuan is still an incredibly strong character. It's still incredibly broken, right? If you pull her, unless you don't like her playstyle, right? If you pull her, I think that you will enjoy the way that she performs. And I think that Yixuan is great. You have to actually learn how to play her as compared to a character like Miyabi. But I think that, Yixuan, even if Yixuan's not the best character, being the second best character in the game that has 2 or 3 game modes is not the worst thing ever, guys. So there's no point to fight about whether Yixuan or Miyabi is stronger, because both of them are strong. It's just that Miyabi has had the groundwork laid out for her, whereas Yixuan is still finding her foothold. And I think that's what I'm going to say about this. In my honest thoughts, that's where the debate lies. Yes, Miyabi is stronger, but Miyabi also has had a lot more love because by virtue of the Anomaly class. But remember, Yixuan is the first of the Rupture class agents, and I think that she's already on a very good start. So yeah, that's my take on it. And so I think just to end this off, I'm going to do a little bit of a playthrough with in Shiyu defense. I've not done the latest what's the thing called, the latest daily assault, right? Daily assault just reset it, so I have not done it yet. But I'm going to show you a showcase of the Shiyu defense and how she works very well in that game mode with the current enemy lineup. So yeah, these are the stats of a team. Let's do our Yixuan first. These are her stats. She has the 4-piece Yunque Tails, very mid piece 1. She does have decent sets for the other, and then this is like pretty okay. This one's pretty good. I have 2-piece Branch and Blade Song. That's why I have a signature weapon as well. So that's pretty nice. Not Miyabi. So these are her abilities, and then her teammate is going to be Yinhu. Fortunately, I still don't have the energy to farm for this. So that's that. I do have him at M6 because I got very lucky with my pulls for Yixuan. These are abilities. I am running 4-piece swing jazz. So that's pretty nice. The main thing with him is just to get his get him to 3k, right? 3k attack, so he gets the max buff. And then last but not least, we do have Lucy, who I just realized she's also on swing. Oh, she's not swing, she's on Astral Voice, so that's going to be pretty nice, right? And then, you know, you just want to get her to her attack break point, which I forgot the number right now. I think it's like 2k or something, or 2.2k. But yeah, these are ability levels, so on and so forth. I think I just realized I was blocking. Let me just put my camera back here. Yeah, I thought these are the not you. These are the abilities for the characters. So yeah, and yep, M0. Okay, M0 as overclock 1. Right, so here's the showcase. We'll see you guys when we are done. All right, and so that's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As I mentioned, this isn't a guide that I usually make, but really my first impressions and review and thoughts on the character. I want to make more of these characters for not only for Zenless, but also for Genshin as well. I tried doing that with Shilonen once, but I took more than a week, unfortunately. So I had to be more like consistent with it if I want to. But anyways, yeah, I really enjoyed playing Yixuan. Of course, she does have her flaws, and I really hope that I brought out her flaws out, because I don't think she's a mask pull. I think she's a very good character, but I think that obviously it depends on what you like as a player. That should determine whether you pull for her and not because like she does like 10 million damage, for example. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and do note that I stream live on Twitch. Link down right below, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, be good to yourselves and the people around you. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.